Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast, the show that provides a platform for self-made entrepreneurs to share their stories on how they got where they are today. If you're a budding entrepreneur or a business owner looking for further inspiration, education, or motivation, then look no further. This is the show for you. And now, let's get started with your host, Zach Duggar.
Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Duggar. Now, sometimes when we're approaching things in life, we feel like we have a limitation. We have this capacity that we can't get past. I'm here to tell you that there are opportunities to get more capacity, to achieve a higher level of success. And my guest today, Adam Lucero, talks about how to obtain superhuman performance and helping individuals scale their businesses. So Adam, thank you for joining me today.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Now, this show, we talk a lot about getting into the entrepreneurial space and the story and how that happened for you. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you got into the entrepreneurial space.
Yeah, so it's one of those stories you pretty much only hear about on the news, but happened to me. So basically, long story short, I had accepted a sales job upon graduating Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I was looking for housing, and I was staying at my aunt's place, and she told me I had to be out of the house for about 8 hours. Didn't really know anyone in the area, so had to go kill some time by myself. Decided to go to a movie. Now, it's like a Wednesday, 2 p.m., not many people in there. I'm sitting there, the lights dim. I'm just watching the movie like, any normal person would be. But 10 minutes into the movie, I feel a hard hit to my throat. And my initial reaction was like, whoa, this person hit me hard. So I stood up and I was like, dude, what the hell? And then I felt another punch to my arm and chest. And so I turned around and pushed him. Now, as I pushed him, I felt a cut on my wrist and ear. And instantly it dawned on me, this guy stabbed me. He didn't punch me. So I started yelling, I've been stabbed. I've been stabbed. The lights turned on and he started running out of the theater. And I'm sitting there bleeding out. So this guy stabbed me in the throat with a chef knife, the ones that get bigger, closer to the handle of the blade. And it went halfway through my throat, punctured my lung, and went so deep in my arm, almost went out the other side. So I'm gushing out blood rapidly. I take off my shirt, wrap it around my neck, and I'm holding the blood in. And then I say about like a minute passes, and these two older women come running up, and they're like, what should we do? So I tell them, just put pressure on my neck. So they start putting pressure on my neck, and then I hear someone say, should we call 911? I lose it. As I was sitting there bleeding out on the floor, I yell back to him, yeah, you should call 911. If you don't call them in this situation, when would you? And I just remember I had so much rage in me in that moment. Anyways, paramedics come. They start asking me all these questions. What year is it? Who's president? What's your name? And I get it. They're making sure I'm conscious, aware. They have their reasons. But at the same time, I'm like, can you guys get to know me later? I feel like we have more pressing matters here, like all this blood coming out. So they're like, all right, let's get him up on the stretcher. They put me on there. And as they move me from like the floor to the stretcher, I feel all my wounds worse than the initial stabbing because I don't have the adrenaline in me anymore. And so they start taking me down all the stairs and rows of chairs. And it was the most excruciating pain I've ever endured. It felt like I literally got stabbed in all those places, like hundreds of times, because it was like so many, it was just so excruciating. Like I remember just looking at the ceiling and trying not to scream my guts out. We finally make it down to like the ambulance outside. And I remember thinking, okay, the paramedics got me. I can start to relax. And as soon as I get that thought, I feel a cold rush through my entire body. And it dawned on me, I lost a lot of blood. I could definitely die here. Because before I wasn't really thinking about that. I was too focused on surviving that I didn't really like dawn on me. I was like, I could die here. I didn't have time for that, right? Now, I see them come over with this oxygen mask. And I remember thinking, don't fall asleep. You're not supposed to fall asleep in this situation. They put it over me. I knock out within a second. So whatever it was is pretty hardcore drugs or whatever it was. So I wake up 7 days later from an induced coma. And I'm living off tubes. You unplug them, you unplug my life. And I was just in this state where I was completely weak and broken, like literally as weak and broken as you could possibly be. So for starters, my body and all my muscle had decayed. I'm used to be like 170 pounds, 8% body fat, like pretty jacked. Now I'm 130 pounds, like stick and bones, like nothing on me. And I could just feel my body was malnourished from lack of nutrients. Like I could just feel it so weak. It was really hard to describe. And besides that, I just couldn't think clearly. Someone could have said, like, Adam, I'll give you $5,000 if you tell me what 8 times 11 is or something like that. I wouldn't be able to do it. My cognitive function just was comparable to a 4-year-old's. And when I was in this state, I just started questioning, do I still have what it takes to run a business? Or is my potential destined to rot away with my ambitions? And I remember I just kept thinking about these questions. And the next day, the nurse was like, Adam, do you want to try getting up and using the bathroom? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm ready to get my life back on track and start making moves in the right direction. Got to the edge of my bed. My legs didn't work. And I remember being so pissed off because I used to be a Division I track athlete. Now my legs don't work. So I was in this moment where I was like, you know what? I can sit here, blame the world, curse that and say, you know what? My life's done for, and I have every right to. Like, if anyone has a right, like what happened to me was pretty hardcore, but I realized that train of thought wasn't serving me towards the life I wanted. So I chose this other path. I said, you know what? I'm going to do whatever it takes to build myself up again, to become the man that can build the life that I want. And ultimately, I committed to that path. And when I committed to that, all these negative thoughts, all the doubt, all the fears no longer had space in my mind. It was just, okay, this is what I need to do. Let's figure out how to do it. But the issue I then faced was like, I struggled to do the things I know I needed to do, whether it was physical therapy, speech therapy, because I had nerve damage in my tongue, couldn't even speak properly, all these other things. So I started learning, well, how does the human brain work? I discovered that 95% of our actions happen subconsciously. Thus, if you want to change your actions and consistently do the things you know you need to do, you need to link your subconscious to your conscious. Then I started doing everything I needed to do. But I was still in this predicament where I was like, okay, well, I am so low on energy that literally I'll have to nap in order to eat a meal. Like, I kid you not, I would eat half my meal, fall asleep, wake up. So I started learning, okay, what kind of foods and exercises boost our energy levels, our cognitive function, our mental alertness. And day by day, week by week, month by month, I dedicated myself to studying human performance, applying what I learned. And within 1 year, I ran a 4:59 mile. I was picking up great weight in the gym, and I was in a good place mentally. Fast forward 5 or 6 more years, and here I am now teaching entrepreneurs how to become the most powerful version of themselves so they grow their business. So yeah, it's just the classic go to the movies and get stabbed in the throat story, you know?
Well, you're right. That is not a story I've heard before from anyone other than you. So, I mean, that's not the foundation that we hear a lot of in entrepreneurial. But you faced an adversity. You faced something that was extremely challenging, more challenging than most any of us ever face. And you had to choose to rise up and choose to move forward. And like you said, to study human performance and how you could then get your own self back in the shape and action that you would desire to have yourself in. But then you decided, it sounds like, that you took that information that you were learning and that you had applied to then be able to leverage that to help others. Now, in those early years, was that something you immediately jumped right into, or?
No, so I always kind of knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I actually had accepted that job, the one I was up there looking for housing for. I did that for 2 to 3 months, was on track for a huge promotion, super quick, crushing it. It was as good of a job as you could possibly get. Like, I'd be making multi-six figures by the age of 21, working 30 hours a week. So like, but I just felt like it wasn't, something just felt inside of me, like my soul was being sucked out of me. Like, I just realized I've never worked for someone else for longer than 3 months, can't do it. And so I actually had quit that job, started working with my brother on his marketing business, help him kind of grow that a little bit. Then after a year, I was like, I need to start my own business. But no, it didn't really dawn on me right away. I was like, I have these skills and the knowledge, but figuring out how to bundle it and
Mm.
kind of was more of a
Yep.
journey and a process. I originally went into more of like fitness and created a fitness offer, and
Yep.
then realized it's like, hey, this isn't as fulfilling. Like, yeah, I can help people get the physique they want, but like,
Yep.
that's like external. What happened was like over the course of trying different programs, I started seeing when I focused a lot on helping people achieve more through like really linking their two minds together, becoming a high performer. The change that they have internal was so profound. Like they would literally tell me, like, Adam, you transformed my life. I'm more confident than I ever have. But then the results of them becoming more powerful and operating from a more powerful place was they started crushing it. They started making 50,000 a month, 100,000 a month. Their businesses started flourishing. They started getting the physique they want. So I realized it's like when you really focus on helping people achieve a better mindset. I hate using that term because when people hear mindset, they automatically tune out. But the reality is, it's like it's really how you think that's going to dictate the level of results that you have in your life. This is why you see people like Elon Musk able to create multi-billion-dollar businesses on repeat. Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink. It's because of how he thinks, how he perceives the world, and how he acts. And so I just started noticing all these changes and just getting the thank you messages and seeing people really transform, becoming more confident and more powerful, just like really lit me up. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do more of this. And so I started focusing on more of this mindset program and then supplementing it with our superhuman performance, the nutrition, the fitness, because that's all a big aspect of it. It's like, look at those days when you wake up, you're tired, you have mental fog, you're not nearly as productive versus those days when you wake up when you're energized, you're thinking
Mm.
clearly, and you just simply feel fantastic. So it all kind of goes together. But yeah, my program essentially is just total human optimization, but with the main focus being the mindset.
Okay. Yeah. Tell us some of those features then of your program and what you're focusing on, or even some of the examples of how you are helping people with their mindset and the
Mm-hmm.
other areas.
Yeah, so pretty much it's really boiled down to 3 simple steps. So the first one is we have to link your two minds together so that when you tell yourself, tomorrow I'm going to get up and build this business, I'm going to do all this tough work I've been procrastinating on, then I'm going to hit the gym, you actually do it and you feel excited to do it as well. So to
Mhm.
do this, we use our what we call our mind linking method. Again, subconscious mind makes 95% of all the decisions you make in your entire day, which is why you've likely had times where you zone out while you're driving only to magically appear at your destination with no conscious recall of how you got there. You're like, how the hell? I don't even remember driving. Like, how'd I get here? It's because your subconscious mind took over. And again, this is why I'm willing to bet when you woke up this morning, you didn't think about which hand you're going to use to lift the sheets off your body, which foot you're going to land on first, or where you're going to step next. It happened automatically or subconsciously. So the key to really becoming a high performer is harnessing the power of your subconscious mind. So that's really phase one of our program, is
Mhm.
getting you to a point where you feel excited and motivated to do the things you know you need to do, and then just getting yourself to a place where you become bulletproof to your circumstances. Lots of entrepreneurs, especially either they're aspiring or they're in the early stages of their entrepreneurship journey, they tell themselves things like, oh, I don't have time to do this, or I'm too tired to do this. But it's like when you look at the highest performing entrepreneurs or these superhuman CEOs like Elon Musk, why is it that he runs 3 separate multi-billion-dollar businesses and still has time to go train and fight Mark Zuckerberg in a fight? Meanwhile, you're telling me you don't have time to go hit the gym? Oh, good one. It's like we all have the same amount of time in our day, but it's how you're operating that's going to ultimately dictate how you use that time and what you can accomplish. So that's really phase one. It's just becoming that person internally that can achieve the goals you want. Step two is attaining superhuman performance. This is where we use things like nutrition, fitness, sleep to really change how your genes are expressed. I know people might be thinking, change how your genes are expressed? What are you talking about? I thought you just were born with genes and you're lucky and you aren't. And in a sense, that's true. You can be born with genes that are better than others, but at the same time, it's the actions and the environment and the signals that we send our genes that ultimately turn on or off the genes, which affect our energy levels, our cognitive function, and so on. And so it's really just getting yourself to a point where you have more energy, it's much more consistent and potent. You're thinking more clearly, your mental alertness. It's kind of like the guy in Limitless, it's just
Yep.
evolved. You make better decisions. Then phase three is we have to get you to operate like a CEO, because the other trap I see a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs and early stage entrepreneurs fall into is like they do so many different tasks. Like, oh, I work 12 hours today. but the revenue didn't increase, didn't actually progress their business because they're working on tedious tasks like posting on their social media, creating thumbnails, graphics, doing all this tedious stuff where it's like, dude, you could just outsource that for like $3, $5, $10 an hour and have someone else do it so that you can focus on things that actually grow your revenue, focus on the marketing aspect, or focus on the program fulfillment so that your clients get good results and you can showcase that. So when you combine all three of these, you just essentially make more money while working less. But again, it's just like crazy to see some of the transformations. Like, for example, we had this client, Ben, who was literally debating selling his business because for 9 months straight, he was procrastinating on all the things he needed to do to grow his business, creating SOPs, hiring a team, delegating the task. And he got so frustrated. He's like, is this really worth it? He felt like he didn't have that excitement and passion. Within 5 weeks of working with us, he was feeling motivated to do all those tasks that he's been procrastinating on for months. And he just told me, he's like, Adam, I have never been more confident than I've ever been in my entire life, like right now, because if I tell myself I'm going to do something, I know it's going to get done. If there's a task that's going to drain me my energy and time, I'm operating like a CEO and I'm delegating that. Plus, I just simply feel better than I ever have. And so it's really just this change internally that leads to the external. And so his business valuation increased 450,000 in 9 months. He added a 200K additional profit. So it's like when you transform yourself from the inside, then your life transforms on the outside.
Yeah, no, that's a great example of someone who was at the point at which they were thinking of selling their business, but then that process of working with you and your team to get to then be able to expand their business, to see that they were increasing in confidence, that they knew that they would get things done that they said they were going to get done. I mean, that's an impressive result right there. Now, do you work primarily in a group format or individual coaching format, or how does your program work?
Yeah, so it's mainly one-to-one as of now, but we're probably so it's a little tricky because like I know it's more profitable to go to the group setting, but at the same time, it's like the people that I deal with, they're usually tend to be really big procrastinators and they need more of that one-to-one accountability. And so what I'm likely going to be doing very soon here is adding on other coaches to help with the fulfillment. But I think I'm going to keep that one-to-one business model just because I feel like it delivers better results. Like, I don't think most of my clients would have gotten the results they had if it was in a group setting, or they're waiting 5 hours in a group call to get their answers, or they don't have that immediate support. And so I think I'm always going to be that one-to-one model, but just constantly increase the prices and add in other coaches to help with the fulfillment.
Yeah, well stated. I think you're right with that procrastination factor too. And you get in a group context, you allow others to talk sometimes, and you listen, and you just kind of are sitting back.
Yeah, you're just waiting my turn, just wasting my time here. I'm like, okay, you guys do you. So
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that the results are very important to you over time for the individual. So that speaks of you and your integrity as well, and what you're trying to achieve and the work that you're doing. Now, I have a question that I like to ask all of my guests on the show. If you were to be handed $1 million, no restrictions attached to it, to invest in your business or another endeavor, how would you use that and why?
Pretty good. I'd probably focus on investing in businesses. Whether I'd probably put a decent chunk into like stocks just to have some sort of safety net. But I think what I would probably do is, first of all, I'm pretty big into gold and silver mining stocks right now. I just think where the US dollar is going in our economy, that's just my personal belief. I'm not a financial investor, so take that with a grain of salt. But that's probably where I'd put like 20 to 30% of it in. I'd probably spend 20 to 30% of it in looking at some other businesses and investing into that, and then potentially doing some more sort of like consulting with it to help them grow. And then, when it comes to the other aspect, I'd probably hold on and just wait for good opportunities. I've realized looking back at my life, all the good investments I've made, it's just having access to the money when good opportunities arise. Like when the whole coronavirus happened and the stock market tanked, I was like, let's put everything I got into the stock market. And then it just boomed in the next year. So it's like just waiting for the right opportunity instead of just pitting it into something immediately, unless that investment I'm making is something I could withdraw later. Like, for example, like maybe I could put it into the stock market and I'm like, if I see a better opportunity arise, I can just liquidate it or so forth. But that's probably what I'd be doing.
Yeah, no, that's a solid answer. Now, I would like to also go back to that beginning story there. You
Hmm.
mentioned an individual that had assaulted you in this public setting.
Hmm.
I'm sure some of our guests wonder, was that person ever found?
Yeah. So I'll
Yeah.
give you the whole story on him. Basically, the cops were actually looking for him when he attacked me because 2 days prior, he stabbed a homeless man 50 times while he was
Wow.
sleeping. So they were literally looking for him when he attacked me. They caught him like within an hour of him attacking me. And he's was schizophrenic. So he was in his own world, battling his own demons. And I actually have no hard feelings for him. And
Hmm.
because what happened was obviously there's a whole court case, but he was literally insane, so he can go to court. So for like
Yep.
2 or 3 years he was working as a psychiatrist, and when he regained consciousness and he found out what he did, he pled guilty because he felt terrible about it. And so that
Yeah.
just goes to show, like, again, he was battling his own demons. His intentions, like him as a person, I think he's a good person. It's just like, who's to say if I was in his situation where I was homeless, didn't have access to good quality water and food and the support system I have, it's like, who's to say I wouldn't turn out like he did, you know? Like, I'm just
Sure.
fortunate that I'm in a situation where I wasn't in that situation. And so, like, I've literally been debating, like, flying up into his prison and telling him, like, look, man, my life's good, so I just want him to overcome this because I don't want him to spend the rest of his life suffering. Like, I
Yeah.
forgive him, but at the end of the day, I realize I can't even visit him and talk to him. So it is what it is. But
Sure.
yeah, essentially just he was schizophrenic, battling his own demons, and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it speaks to other forms of adversity that people deal with in life. And,
Mhm.
that situation was one that you were able to deal with and overcome and even get to that point of forgiveness for the individual that caused it, but also taking that and accelerating into an area of business that you've been able to help others to
Mhm.
scale, to grow in their own optimal human performance as well and
Mhm.
increase their capacity. So, Adam, if our guests want to find out more about the work you're doing or possibly interested in the services you provide, what's the best way for
Mhm.
someone to connect with you?
So two different ways. Basically, the best way is going to be going to superhumanceo.com. You'll be able to opt in for our training and then book a time to speak with me or my team. And then alternatively, you could go to my Instagram. It's Adam Lucero, Lucero, then the number one. So Adam Lucero one.
Perfect. Superhuman CEO. I love it.
Mhm.
All right,
Yep.
Adam, thank you again for your time today. I'm excited to see what more you're going to be bringing over the years and the great people you're going to be helping. The next Elon Musks that you're going to be assisting to get to that point in their process. So
I,
thank you again.
of course, I'm excited to be here and grateful for the opportunity.